why I'm laughing. I should be crying.
Zoom record. Okay, we are now officially in session. Welcome, Chief.
Good evening, everyone. How you doing?
I guess this is the item on the agenda that Lily had requested about the town policy on electric vehicles.
Yeah, but Dick, you have to do the preamble for the virtual meeting. I know you.
Okay,
According
we're
to
having a
open meeting law.
virtual meeting per the enhancement to the open meeting law ordered by Governor Baker on March 12, 2020. And all votes will be a roll call vote. Fine. Let's get on to the second agenda item, which is the town policy on vehicles. So Chief, well, you asked for this, so what is the, what would you like to have discussed?
Well, I think the chief is here, so we could talk to him and see what his needs are, so that we can support his efforts.
Okay.
Yep, no, thank you, Lily, and to the chair. No, just mostly a discussion after the select board, beginning of the month. We were talking about some capital items in the cruisers. And we're going to be looking at purchasing a hybrid. And there was some grant opportunities and green community money. So just kind of an extension of that conversation.
Do we know we are eligible for Green Communities grant application this spring when they open? So that should be one of the things we try to prioritize in our grant then, right? Because that fits with your timing.
Yep, if town meeting is successful for the money, then we would be looking at sometime after July 1st to make a purchase.
Okay, so that means the money is going in the next town meeting for the next fiscal year.
Yes, it's for fiscal 23.
Okay, so that does match up with the timing on the Green Communities grant.
Yep.
You might not know immediately, but we've been reasonably successful on things of that nature. And if the Green Communities grants now cover electric cars, does anyone know if they cover the difference between an electric car and a standard car, or whether they cover the whole car?
Last spring, before town meeting and investigating the electric and hybrids, I spoke with Lisa Sullivan with the Green Communities grant to get some insight on what other municipalities were doing, other police departments. Were there any electric police vehicles in service in the state? You know, she was very helpful, had a lot of questions for her, but bottom line with electric and hybrid, their grants will cover the difference between the cost of the hybrid and electric versus a gasoline vehicle.
Okay, so it's a delta. So the grant is for about $130,000 typically. So this would only be about $20,000 or $30,000 of it. If it's one, would it apply to the hybrid, or you look? I know the board authorized the hybrid. Would you go back and do an all-electric vehicle if we could find one?
To be honest, and this was speaking with Lisa back last spring, at the moment, there are no municipalities or police departments using all electric for their patrol fleet at the moment. So, I think we're gonna start with the hybrid and start integrating this into the fleet. And, at some point, if we move to electric, that would be the next move.
Okay, so we're looking for a hybrid if the Green Communities grant will cover it.
And right now, the way I budgeted is that, any grant money would just be savings to the community. So right now, I have budgeted to buy the vehicle the grant would just save the town, the balance if need be.
Okay. The real issue with a police car is integrating all the electronics, all the apps and the computers, right?
Yeah, there's a pretty heavy load with all the stuff that are in these vehicles now. The LED lighting has taken back some of that drain that does come, but we do have, a computer in there, electronics, radio, GPS. I mean, there's a lot going on inside those cars. So I know has been a concern of a lot of agencies, and those what a lot of larger size departments do is they will buy a few of these, but they're not a patrol function vehicle. So they may be for a specialty or the school where they can test these vehicles out, where we honestly really don't have that luxury. The lined police cars we have are for everyday use because we're so small.
And so you need to put all those special computer apps into the car.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was even some concern with the hybrids also with some technology issues. And right now, maintenance and repairs of the hybrid engine component parts does have to be done off Cape at the moment. Up in Hanover is the closest repair. So that's another concern moving forward. I hope that some of those issues get worked out where we can get some mechanics down on the Cape and help to work on these vehicles if need be.
Or get faster service. And Tesla just sends the mechanic to your shop, to your house, rather than you driving up. But it takes a couple of weeks, which is usually intolerable if it's out of service.
Yeah, and that's a concern having such a small fleet, that if one of these vehicles is offline. And of course, the other issue we've been dealing with lately has just been getting parts for these cars. Sometimes that they've been sitting weeks on end, and then a second one breaks down. That's half the fleet. So it gets to a point where it's crunch time where you need these vehicles, available for emergency response purposes. But we're going to give the hybrid a try. We're going to move forward with it in July.
Well, I have a hybrid RAV4. I've never noticed any difference between that in terms of maintainability and my previous car.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll say, and I know that I have this discussion with finance and select, well, actually even citizens, that, the one thing I always caution, I mean, I have a 2005 Toyota Tacoma at home, and I baby it, take care of it. You have to understand these vehicles are multiple users. They get some hard usage sometimes with idle, stop, go, sit, and 7 or 8 people using it over a period of time. So, that's really where the drawbacks come to these vehicles, is just the hard use on them. So I just always caution. I know people have success at home with electrics and hybrids and gas and this and that, but these vehicles, not only do they take a good beating, we really don't replace them earlier than we should. We really extend the usage on them to offset costs. But, right now we haven't had a new vehicle in 3 years. So, I mean, we have mileage ranging from 72,000 up to 150,000 miles on these vehicles, and it's getting up there.
Is the hybrid going to be replacing one of the line cars, or will you be able to keep all of the line cars that you currently have?
Nope, it'll be replacing a vehicle that's up next to get replaced. But I'll still have 3 line cars that'll be gasoline, just so we can work out the kinks. And if it's working well and we don't have any issues, then we'll continue to transition the rest of the fleet over to hybrid, and then see where electric stands, as the technology improves.
So are you getting a plug-in hybrid or a regular hybrid?
I believe just a regular hybrid.
Okay, so you haven't faced the issue yet of where to plug it in.
Yeah, I mean, we really gotta, unfortunately, as this year's budget cycle is already moving along, I would like to next year in capital start getting some infrastructure ready to go. So when this happens, that we're ready to make that move.
I have a question. Who produces the hybrid cars for police fleets?
Yeah, it all depends. We typically have been utilizing Ford during my career in Wellfleet. Chevy has made vehicles. Dodge has been known to make certain types. So, it really depends what you're looking for with the agency, but we primarily have always used Ford vehicles.
So you would charge the vehicles in front of the police station, right? What's your duty cycle like? You won't be charging this one, but in general, do most cars sit overnight most of the time?
Yep, we'll have a minimum of 2 officers on shift, so at least 2 of the vehicles, will be, again, off-season, not summertime hours, that they would be available to recharge and, be ready for the next oncoming shift.
And what's the worst case during the summertime?
We could have all the cars out there running between all the assignments and beach and,
24 hours a day or?
I mean, the midnight would be the one where they could get a little bit of rest, the overnight shift where we may be back down to 2 or 3, but I'll tell you now, Little Wellfleet is very vibrant and busy during the summer, from the beaches to, Route 6 to events going on. So these cars are out there.
What I'm trying to understand is if you had to recharge a car for, say, 5 hours or 6 hours, do all 4 cars have a time when they could all be not all at once, but in shifts, have 5 hours free, or is in the summertime under peak loading?
Yeah, that would be the hope. I mean, again, I can't promise anything. And again, then we start working into, if a vehicle is down due to maintenance issues, now we got 3 left. And really at that point, that's always the concern. I always circle back, and I know it's, something I can't cover all the time, but just when a vehicle is out of service on a small fleet, it really puts it's crunch time for the other vehicles.
Yeah, and then there would have to be some kind of a backup if we lost power too. I mean, that would be a huge issue as well.
Yeah.
What's the longest period of time for which the police station has lost power?
We're on generator. We have a generator, but the October storm, we were down for about 2 days. We were on generator for almost 2 full days.
So the generator has to be sized to be able to recharge cars as well as power the building for 2 days. So how much excess capacity do you have in your generator?
I have no idea. That, again, these are things that need to be investigated and looked at in the capital project.
Okay.
Unfortunately, during the renovation and doing the building over, that wasn't a forethought up front to incorporate that into it, both infrastructure and the size of the generator. Probably what's there now, if it's not capable of doing it, I don't think we are going to be able to change that, to be honest with you.
So, Chief Hurley, given everything that you said about the potential or the crunch from one car not working and depending on the others, is it possible to get 2 car replacements and just have a larger fleet by 1 car, whether it's hybrid or not?
Yeah, I mean, I've been here 27 years now, and I always find when it comes to vehicles, people just, they don't like a lot of them. They don't like seeing a lot of them around. They don't like departments having them. For the most part, the 4 line cars work, if things aren't going too bad or we don't have too many issues, but I don't really see a lot of support to add another vehicle to our fleet.
Just in case.
Yeah,
we've postponed buying this car for at least 2 years, right?
Yeah,
and
it was
maintaining
postponed.
the existing number, not buying an extra one.
Yep, and we had 2 authorized last June's town meeting. We put the order in July 6th, and still to this moment, Ford can't tell me where the vehicles are or when they'll be delivered. So the supply chain issue with these vehicles, again, hybrid, electric, gasoline, you name it. It's a real issue. So I honestly have no idea when these vehicles are coming.
Mhm.
But I just wanted to, just if I, meet with the board real quick. And again, thanks for the support. And, as the grant process ramps up, if you don't mind keeping us in mind to,
Oh,
be
you'll
part
be
of,
at the top of our list.
yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
So-
and if there's other things that you find that it would be helpful for us to add to that grant. I don't know if we can add anything as far as infrastructure with, to make it ready for our vehicles in the future.
Why not install why not buy charging stations?
I mean, that could be part of the grant or another grant too. I mean, maybe we can figure that one out. I don't know, Suzanne, you were working with that regional grant with Eastham and, I don't know, maybe there's another opportunity here to support your efforts.
What about a higher capacity generator or a second generator?
No, that too.
Yep.
That-
Yep. Yeah, but again, those are things we'll be investigating, and hopefully what we have now will do the job. But if not, that'll come down to cost and infrastructure and what we would need to make this happen. Unfortunately, the building project came and went, so anything moving forward.
No, we're talking about adding something to a potential grant
No,
application.
no, I understand that. Nope, I understand. No, I can get that ball rolling once we can get through this budget cycle and everything we got going on, work with Public Works and see if we can start laying out the groundwork of what this would take to get those at the station.
Well, keep us informed.
No, most definitely.
Thanks, Chief.
So
Thanks, Chuck.
as far as the green communities competitive grant goes, I've been in touch with Jay Norton because they're all over that grant. They're prioritizing, and we absolutely have to confer with them and keep them abreast of all this. So I was in touch with him, and he wanted to know what priorities we might have. And as far as I'm concerned, we're advocating for you. We don't
Okay.
have anything else lined up, but I let him know that that's what you're looking for, and we'll continue to keep that in their radar, on their
Well,
radar.
2 years ago, when we were applying for the competitive grant, we didn't actually have tons of things falling off that we needed to do. We were looking pretty hard for things that would enhance the grant application in terms of payback. And in fact, some of our things came off the grant because they didn't have a high enough payback.
Right.
So I'm not too sure that there's a lot of competition on that grant for other town needs.
So,
Jane-
okay, well, let me give a couple of examples, because I
Mhm.
think DPW is a little bit more ambitious this year,
Okay.
but they want to replace the fire department HVAC
Mhm.
system that needs to be upgraded. And then they're planning on having Rise Engineer doing a full energy audit of the fire department. So that would be, that's it. That's the competing thing. So
But-
maybe. it's
But
right
Rise
up-
Engineering is free for the audit. That comes out of the Cape Light Compact's budget,
Right.
done
So-
before the grant.
Yeah. So just letting you know what other priorities are in line. So I personally don't see any reason why the hybrid car couldn't be yet another priority to be pursued.
Nope, that sounds great. And I work well and very close with Jay, so we'll get together and talk it over. And the good thing, these vehicles are in the budget. That project at the fire department, I believe, may be a capital item. So the way I look at it is that these projects are moving forward, but whatever we can do with grants to offset to the community to redirect those monies somewhere else would definitely be a big benefit. So I appreciate it.
Thank you,
So-
Chief.
Great. Okay. Is that it, Chief? If you want to drop off now, or anyone else have any questions for the chief?
Actually, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, while I just have you here hostage for a moment, as
Oh,
part of the
sure.
emergency management, myself and some town staff are reviewing our hazard mitigation plan. I know me and Carol talked last year about this,
Yeah.
where there is a public survey that's out there until the 1st of February. If all of you don't
I
mind.
sent it to everybody
Okay, great.
on my list, including
Okay.
this whole committee. Yes.
Great. I appreciate it. And we'll probably do a public forum in March and then get our plan to FEMA by April so that for any grant opportunities coming up, we have that plan recertified by FEMA. So
So
we're excited about that.
You're looking for a Wellfleet Community Forum, or?
I think what we've been doing is reaching out to committees, and we may just do one with the select board, but make it a public hearing, and that will cover what FEMA requests.
Okay, so on the vulnerability plan, Ryan Curley sent out some a note on new fiscal policy. I don't know if you got it. It was about, I'm sure you got it, but I don't know if you bothered to read it.
Yeah.
In that, he had a section on risk management, and then it came down to climate action and said we should do a risk management of climate action. One of my comments back was, we have one. It's our municipal vulnerability plan. Let's not invent the same thing under a new name.
Yeah.
Let's keep it up to date, because we
Yeah.
haven't updated it in 3 years.
Yeah.
So if you see him, let him know that we have a vulnerability plan. It's our risk management for climate action, and it needs updated. It's not, we don't need yet another plan.
No, I completely
Would like
agree
to
with you.
update that one.
Yeah.
Keep it up to date, because part of our commitment on some grant was we were keeping that up to date, and we haven't been living up to what we should. So maybe we just have to do it ourselves and arrange. You say you're having a session, you're thinking in March, and what was that session for?
Once we, as the working group, continue, we see the survey results and we continue to look over the 2016 plan, we'll probably do some type of public forum or hearing with the select board to go over what we have so far, delete, add, or take on new suggestions, and then go
This is
back.
on the vulnerability plan.
This is on the hazard mitigation plan approved by FEMA.
Is that the same one that I'm talking about, or do we have a state plan and a federal plan going on simultaneously?
Yeah, they very well could be. I know this was
FEMA's
this was
hazard
last-
mitigation and the state is vulnerability. But we should do them both at the same time because they have the same content.
Yeah. And what happens when you apply for a lot of grants, they're looking to make sure that your hazard mitigation plan is, reviewed every 5 years and is approved by FEMA. So that's, last year when Carol called and we, as everybody knows, had some chaos in government, I looked into it and was able to track down that we still have an active plan. It looked very good last year, that we had until July of 22 to renew this plan. So we're actively working on that now.
So let me say that the hazard mitigation plan, which is federal, and the municipal vulnerability plan, which is state, should both be updated at the same time. In fact, we can probably have one plan with 2 title pages. Okay, but we have to keep them both up to date. We've been neglecting the state. The state wants it every year, not every 5 years, right?
Do you know what staff member has typically handled that in the past in town?
I believe Hillary.
Okay. Okay, I'll touch base with Hillary on that.
All right. So let's combine those two plans in our mind so we get them both done. But yes, when we hold this session, we should talk about both of those plans. And we'll be happy to support that. Send it out.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for your time this evening, and I'll be in touch with the group. But thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Great, thanks.
Okay, going back to our agenda. Are there minutes from
Yeah.
previous meetings?
Yeah, I sent them to everybody.
Okay, do I have a motion? Are there any comments on them?
Well,
No comments? Okay, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make.
Comment,
the-
comment.
GB,
I thought it might be, if possible, might be better to state Lily's concerns in a little more cordial way, perhaps.
I don't think Dick cares.
well, what are your concerns?
My concerns?
No, Lily's concerns. What? Lily, you,
Well,
GB's.
I just explained that what happened at the last meeting, Dick, is we didn't have a quorum, but we had two people that hadn't been sworn in. And when Robert left, we didn't have a quorum anymore. And you said, well, we should just continue with the meeting. I said it was a violation of open meeting law. And you said, well, we'll just end the meeting and by turning off the recording and then we'll continue. And I said, we can't do that. That's against open meeting law. And
It can't be, Lily.
which we did, which I made the motion to adjourn. Robert seconded it. We all, the four of us said yes. And then you turned off the recording and you continued with the meeting. And I reiterated it's against open meeting law, but you just continued. And I don't think that you care, Dick, because you've stated that you don't care,
Okay, Lily, my position was that either we have a quorum or we don't. If we have a quorum, it's a meeting. If we don't have a quorum, it's not a meeting.
Yeah, but you
You
can't.
can't
continue
have
with
it
the
both
agenda.
ways.
You
If
can't
we're not
continue
having a
with the
meeting-
agenda If we're having a meeting, when there's two people that are on the committee, but they haven't technically been sworn in. I mean.
We
it's
are
against-
either
it's
on the
really a
committee
violation
and
of
we
open
have a
meeting law.
quorum,
Uh,
or they're not on the committee and
Well, I
we
just-
don't have a quorum. It's a binary decision.
Well, so I put it in the minutes.
Okay,
So you don't
Okay.
care, right? You don't care whether.
no,
it's
I
in
don't
the-
care.
Okay, so I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes, please signify.
it-
Oh, is there a
has to be-
second?
You want to second it, Dick?
No, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor of adopting the minutes as written? Signify aye.
Aye.
Lily, I.
3,
You
4.
have to say, Dick, I.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Am I, wait a minute. Am I allowed to vote?
Well, did you go and no, you didn't.
I was in,
Gonna have a quorum tonight.
Do we have?
What?
I haven't been in. I've asked what the process is in Zoom era meetings.
Wait,
Wait.
Chuck,
There are
have
two
you been
people.
sworn, are you sworn in as a member?
No,
Have-
not re-sworn in, no.
When? No, you're kidding me, Chuck.
No, I'm sorry, I have not. I'm not sure how the selectmen meetings.
Carol, are you
I-
sworn in?
No. Did,
It turns out that I was legal after all,
Ah,
and it was a mistake to say that my term ended last year. So I'm still
had a
legal.
quorum.
I was
So we had a
legal.
quorum.
I probably should be listed on these minutes, which I'm not.
oh.
You're not.
well-
well,
Well,
because you
then
said
please list her
you
as,
said that you weren't, that you hadn't been sworn in, that you
you
were.
had been sworn in because your
But-
term did not expire.
That's
So
what they told me initially, and then they called me back and said, you were legal. It was a mistake.
shall
Wait,
I call, so shall we hold on the minutes and I'll call Jennifer and ask her what to do in that situation?
No,
I
I
sus-
believe that Carol is a member of the committee. She doesn't have to be sworn in again because she was sworn in originally.
Well, we,
We couldn't understand why. She's clarified it. I'll take her word. So the minute should reflect she was present as a member.
yeah, well, and GB, are you
She has
sworn in?
not been sworn in yet.
And Chuck, were you?
No, I'm not. What is my
Wait a minute.
process?
Wait a
Go
minute.
down to town hall, raise
Wait a
your
minute.
hand,
What
And-
days is town hall is only open 2 days a week? What days are they?
call
was
them
it
and
listed?
find out.
Hey, Chuck,
Yes,
did your term expire and the select board reinstated you for another term?
I requested that I be reinstated. Whether they did or not, I don't attend the selectmen's meetings. I'm sorry.
Well, was your
No,
term,
no.
did your term expire?
I believe I was coming up.
Reappointed. You were probably, check if you were reappointed, Chuck.
Okay, now who do I check with and when and what in?
You call the town clerk and you ask, are you a member of the committee in good standing? And
Okay,
she'll say, you were reappointed, but you haven't been sworn in, or you were appointed less than 3 years ago, and you're still a member in good standing.
okay, that would be Jeannie,
Jennifer, yeah,
Jennifer. Okay.
Right.
I will do that.
all right, but you weren't present last time, so you're not.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, but it matters because he's present this time. So I have to record him as being, if I'm, I am the secretary, so I have to record what,
Okay, well, we currently have a quorum,
yeah. But
so, all right, fine. And
Okay,
GB, when are you going to be in town next?
Well, unfortunately, I was down there last Saturday, but I knew town hall wasn't going to be open, so I
Right,
couldn't do anything about it. I'm not sure when the next trip's coming yet.
okay. Well,
okay,
please
so I
try
just,
to get sworn in sometime during working hours. Even though town hall itself is not open, the clerk may be there and may be able to swear you in. Because-
I'm just, has anybody looked into, swearing in over Zoom, or it has to be physically present?
Don't know, you'll have to ask her.
Okay, I'll check into it.
the assembly was all sworn in over Zoom, in January, so of last year. So I assume that you could be as well. I mean, I don't see any reason why not. But ask Jennifer, what the rules are for the town. Chuck, I just looked up your appointment, and it does say that you were, your term was over in 2021. Did the select board reappoint you? Do you know?
I don't know. I assume they had because I requested that I would be, but I don't know. I
Okay,
will.
well, you-
I think the only one who was not reappointed, only one person was not reappointed. They were overlooked, right?
That
Well-
was me, and I wasn't really,
Oh,
The
not.
guy.
No, what happened, GB and GB? was
Well,
not-
somebody called me up at one point in time and said, do you want to continue a second term? And I said, yes.
Okay. Good. So they reappointed you probably, but go check with the clerk to be positive.
Okay.
I'll do the same.
That's the definitive answer. Right now, I know you're all on the website, but nobody knows if the website's particularly accurate. Okay, but we do have Carol is a member. We have 4 people, so we have a quorum. So
All right.
Lily, you're going to go figure out the status, right?
Yeah, I'll talk to Jennifer and ask her what to do. I mean,
About what? About Carol?
I
Well,
don't
we
think we
adjourned
can
the
approve
meeting
the minutes.
prematurely
Um,
because we said that Carol wasn't a member and we didn't have a
Well,
quorum.
Carol said she wasn't, that's
Right.
the reason. So,
Yes, and so we were wrong. So we continued to have a quorum and we were all here. Did I stop the recording? I did.
yes, you did. Yep. you-
Okay. By the way, it's town policy to have recordings on all remote sessions, right? Is that correct? Our town policy is when we have a remote meeting, it's recorded and posted? Because I know that's in excess of the state law. I think it's a good idea. I think it should be part of the state law, but it isn't currently.
I will confirm that with Jennifer when I talk to
Yeah,
her.
it may be town policy to have them all recorded. I think it's a very good idea. We should continue to do that, whether or not it's a requirement or not. We should continue to record all our meetings and post them. Okay, so we don't have minutes at this point because Lily wants to check, right?
I would highly recommend that because then I can be
Fine.
sure that what I'm doing is correct. Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. Next item. Matching funds, the article for matching funds. 2 years ago, we put in an article for matching funds as a placeholder in case we found a project that we needed matching funds for. We never did find a project that required it where we could apply. So the money went unspent. We now want to do it again. Right? So let me see. Did I send the draft of the article to the committee? I think I did, right?
Yeah,
I did.
You,
Yeah.
you sent what? You sent
And
out
then
a
you
copy
sent
of the
another
old one, right? I think I revised it by taking out all the things that were not particular to an article because you had all the comments from all the committees. And of course, they will now need to comment again. So I deleted all of that and updated it and said to see if the town will. I don't know if I sent the revised article out,
I
but
think I did.
given that, whether I sent it out or not, would the committee like to express an opinion about whether we should place this on the warrant? Do we have a motion? In other words, it's on our agenda, and would someone like, Carol, would you like to make a motion?
I would make a motion that we submit the resolution for matching funds as revised by Chair Elkin to the select board for inclusion at town meeting.
Okay, and the wording would be exactly the same as the article we proposed without the comments in the warrant that said what the results of all the committee's evaluations were.
But I
Yeah.
did add a phrase
Yeah,
that was not on last year's, that the money would relate to climate change. Did you take
Okay.
that out?
no, I didn't. I
Okay.
know, I
Because
should.
I'd like that to stay in.
Right, yes. You're right. Now, it's possible the select board will not vote to approve this because money is short and they're worried about the budget. So if they don't, we need 10 signatures to submit it as a petitioned article. I would be willing to submit it as a petitioned article.
Okay, I'll second the motion that Carol made, and maybe we should vote on it and then talk about,
Okay, so as our official position, all those in favor of the article
Lily,
as
I.
written by Carol,
Carol, I.
okay?
Dan,
Suzanne,
Aye, if I can vote.
Chuck, if you're conditional, yes, and
Right.
GB, If you're conditional, yes. Right or not?
If that's the way to do it, then I'm a conditional yes.
Conditional, yes.
All right. So we have a conditional unanimous of all the voting members. Why don't you, GB, let's hope she will sign people up via Zoom. Mention the assembly delegates signed up by Zoom and tell her she should do it. Suggest she do it.
Well, I mean,
Or if not, find out if you can be sworn in by somebody in Newton. I don't know, because they make you sign the book, which is physically present in town hall.
yeah, well, somehow the clerk of the assembly last year, I mean, and Jan, if you think I'm particular about open meeting law, Janice was, she dotted every I and crossed every T, and she never would have done it if it wasn't, you know, you couldn't do it. But we all took the oath of office, you know, on Zoom.
Mhm.
I presume that should be okay, GB. And Chuck.
Oh, I can go in. That's no problem.
Yeah.
But I haven't been in the town hall in quite a while.
Okay,
I will explore it.
good.
What's Jennifer's last name?
Congruent, is that it?
Congo,
You know what?
GEL.
Yeah, she's
CONGL.
on, the name is on most of the emails when I
Yeah.
sent out an agenda.
If you have a problem, GB, just email me and I'll send you her email.
Right, but it should be on the town website too.
Yeah.
Okay, the energy section of the local comprehensive plan, I did send it in. Ryan Curley said, fine, I'll put it on the BOS agenda, and I never heard from him again.
It was on the agenda.
Was?
Oh, it was. And you weren't there.
When was it on the agenda?
This past
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Oh, this last Tuesday. I looked at the
And you
agenda.
were there at the beginning of the meeting and then you weren't.
Oh, I swear I looked at the agenda and I didn't see it. So what happened?
They skipped
Nothing,
over it.
because nobody knew what to say or what it actually meant. I mean, I didn't even know what, the way it was written, what it referred to, so.
Okay, that's nuts. So what did they do? Not take action?
No, they just,
Correct.
they said that, you know, they'd come back to it if you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I swear I looked at the agenda and I didn't see it there. So
Well,
I
will you
dropped-
do it again? Will you do it again?
Yes, I will put it on again. And I will write a note again explaining why we need it.
Thank you.
Okay. Gee, that's my fault. I was there. I didn't see it on the agenda. Maybe it wasn't explicit.
Yeah, it didn't say local comprehensive plan, if I remember correctly, so I didn't know what it was. I had no clue.
Yes. So the idea was to support Robert's ability to say we have an approved plan. We have to have something approved by the select board. What we expected, what we submitted was the section we would write for the local comprehensive plan. We wanted it as an interim approval, so we could say they approved something. Okay, I apologize, but I should have stayed on. I just find these meetings very tedious, and when I wasn't on the agenda, I dropped off. Okay. Okay, Green Communities grants. What's the story on that? Is there any change, Suzanne?
No, I pretty much said everything there is to be said earlier when I was talking, you know, I pretty much gave that report.
Okay. Any liaison with other committees?
I attended the Open Space Committee meeting two nights ago. I advised them that, try it again. I advised them that the solar array had been turned up, and that generated mild excitement. We had they're doing a survey of all of the town properties, and I took the opportunity to mention the whatever you want to call it, the landing strip, the airfield, or whatever, out in the middle of the National Seashore property near Marconi Beach. And also, I guess there's a fair amount of property in the Wellfleet by the Sea area, you know, down near the corner of LeCounte Hollow Road and Ocean Ave, or whatever it is, that the town owns. And I indicated that I had spoken with the whatever the title is, the director of the National Seashore, a while back, maybe a couple, 3 years ago, about whether any of that property could be traded for National Seashore property in a more useful place to the town. And the person I spoke to, once again, I can't remember his name, but at the time I spoke to him, he said, you know, because this was in the middle of the Trump administration, he said, you're wasting your time. It's not going to go anywhere. But I don't know if under the current administration there might be a more favorable reception to doing something like that. But the idea would be in part to trade the acreage, just say hypothetically, the landing strip is 48 acres, is give that 48 acres to the National Seashore in exchange for 48 acres, say, along the border of the National Seashore, where, you know, where Bocce's restaurant, I guess it's the trail side now, you know, somewhere in there, and perhaps use that land in part for a solar farm. And we certainly wouldn't need the whole 48 acres for something like that. They could, you know, use part of it for that and take another part of it and relocate that maybe closer to the main part of Wellfleet for affordable housing. So anyway, they were aware of, you know, the properties and so forth, and I don't know if they're going to pursue something like that, but that would seem to be something that would fall in their bailiwick, and I'm interested in it from the point of view of this committee as whether, you know, there's a place for a solar farm could be carved out.
Okay.
Doesn't it make sense that if there was land available, that it would be, I mean, maybe you would work with different committees in the town, but maybe it would be affordable housing with solar on the roof, so there would be dual use as opposed to.
Well, wherever you put, see, the thing about it, it's not a good location down by Trailside for affordable housing, in my mind. You're not, you know, you want it to be, you know, closer to the places that people are going to go to most often, which is, to me, is, you know, down the center of the village. But the big thing to me is that the landing strip where it is now is decreasing in size every year because it goes right out to the bluff and it's falling into the sea. So it's like, give that to the National Seashore and get some land in the interior that's going to last for a few more years.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Wealthy by the Sea, you know, that keeps getting eaten away.
No, I don't doubt what you're saying. In fact, I know the select board a number of years ago was looking at trying to do a land swap with the park too, for different reasons. But I don't think that that's a bad idea to try to work with Brian Karlstrom, superintendent of the park, or the team over there. But I think it's got, there's so many needs for the town that it would be important to have a comprehensive vision of how to use it and how to best use it, and use the solar on the rooftops of whatever it is used for, let's say. But yeah, I don't disagree with trying to do a land swap with the park.
The, as far as solar goes, solar on the rooftop, the implication of that is that if you put a building up that has housing, you put solar on the roof, you know where the solar's going. If you had, hypothetically, 10 free acres of sunshine or 20 acres, the town could not put up a solar array because we have maxed out on the amount of eligibility we have under the SMART program. So solar needs the subsidies from the SMART program to make more money. And we're maxed out at the usage of the town. If we had headroom, if that were not an obstacle, the best place to put it would be on a parking lot like one of the beaches, namely Whitecrest, where we could put up solar canopies. So it becomes dual use.
I don't disagree with that either.
But that doesn't mean that if we find that we swap it for something where low-income housing is good, or, you know, that would certainly be worthwhile doing.
Yeah,
But
well, I
think,
mean, you know, we all know that, yeah, Ocean View Drive is not going to last forever. And gosh, I don't know when it was a number of years ago, but the specific use the select board was thinking about was a landing strip for parking. So at that point in time, I mean, I'm not so sure that they would think of it in that light today. But I mean, I think it's really great that you brought up the trading property with the seashore at this time too, because I mean, also we're looking at the ARPA funds, and maybe there'll be more infrastructure money as well. So I mean, I think we should be looking at all options. So I'm glad you brought that up, GB.
And there's always a possibility that the day might come where it could be used for a sewage treatment plant.
At the landfill, probably, right? I don't know. Yeah,
Well, no, what I'm saying is you take part of the landing strip property. Let's say you need 4 acres for a sewage treatment plant, right? So you take 4 of those acres and you put that adjacent to the boundary of the National Seashore and give the National Seashore those 4 acres in where the landing strip is, and that's you know, landlocked by National Seashore property, and that way you can, you know, the town can access it without having to mess around with National Seashore.
yeah.
Yeah, at one point too, the planning board was looking into access, because there is a contested access point into the landing strip, believe it or not. So
There is.
yeah, there actually is.
Well, and somebody
Study and decided that there wasn't one.
That there was no decision ever reached. To actually.
somebody at the meeting also said that there's some confusion about the actual size of the landing strip property. There's some people that believe it's bigger than what is shown on the assessor's maps.
Right, right. Yeah, that did come up as well. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a good, that's something that maybe we should look into more, just for.
It's just, I just look at it, it's a lot of property that is not in a place where it can be well used by the town, but it'd be great to integrate with the rest of the national seashore property around it. If the town could get, equivalent land next to the boundary, or in a place or places along the boundary where it could do useful things.
I agree. I think all those things should be explored, should be brought back up to be looked at. I agree with you. Were there other people that
I
had?
do have a question. Is the Seashore Advisory Committee working or not these days?
No, it's out of committee in the Senate. But according to Ed Markey's office, as of last week even, they're working on a big lands bill. They usually do a land bill every year, but given the situation this year, it may be not the biggest priority, and I pitched them to try to find another bill that could tack it on to quickly so we could get the Seashore Advisory Commission up and running, and, especially before this season. So we'll see if they're able to do it. It does have to go back to the House again because the Senate changed it in committee. And so it would have to go through the Senate on the Senate floor, go back to the House, get approved by the House, and then signed by the president. So it's a lot of steps still, if you can believe it, but that's where it's at.
Okay. Let's see. Any other committee we want to talk about liaison with? No. All right. On the out of Cape and in the other towns' energy committees, I took an initiative to go with I belong to Am Hayam, so I'm on their mailing list, and they sent that's a Jewish congregation. Lily would know, I'm not sure anyone else would. They sent out something that they wanted to do, have a big meeting on what they could do as a congregation for climate action. So I sent them a proposal that said, well, the Out of Cape energy committees would like to put on a set of workshops on, and then do the same thing we did with Out of Cape Energize. Talk about solar, talk about PV, talk about renewable energy, and so on. So I sent that proposal in, and on the 25th, we'll have a discussion. Maybe they'll take us up, and then we'll have at least one round of workshops for Out of Cape Energy. We will see. So that's where that stands, as a potential for an activity where we dry run the workshops. It looks like everything will have to be Zoom sessions. And I haven't quite figured out how to do a Zoom session in lieu of what we did in person, where we had vendors come in and talk to people. But maybe we'll just do it. We'll figure it out, right? It's an audience. We'll see if it works. Right. So that's
idea.
happening in a week or two. And maybe they're uninterested. Maybe they will want to do what I call the let's stand at the circle and bang a drum for climate action, which, no offense, Chuck, but I find that a little, not the least direct action, least way to do direct action. I'd rather just do something than expect somebody else to do it on climate action.
Let me ask this if I could. back when we were doing Solarize, I had installed solar on our house up here in Newton. And I took a lot of photos and I put together sort of a, a story, I guess, of what was involved in doing that. And that got put on the Wellfleet Solarize website. For all I know, it might still be there. It's just a little dated because that was back in 2014. But I'm giving serious consideration to replacing the oil furnace in our Cape property with heat pump. And I'm just wondering, I mean, I could do the same kind of thing there where I could take photographs of what happened. I could take videos of some of the work and so forth and put together another story of, this is one person's experience with converting from oil to electric heat pump. Is that something that would be useful to any of the things we're trying to
That's
do?
exactly what we do when we have these workshops. We like to have people who've done it talk about it in first person so that people who are thinking about it can ask questions. We talk theoretically, here's what you can do, here's what the subsidies are, but then we like to have people who did it say what the effect was.
Yeah, I think that would be great, GB.
Yeah, we do it. We did it for solar. We did it for air source heat pumps. We tried it with electric cars. All we had was one person who had a plug-in hybrid at the time, which was, what's her name? Hay.
Oh, Elspeth, hey?
Elspeth Hay, right. Elspeth Hay. That was the only person we knew who had done it. And she was a big advocate of plug-in hybrids. But now it's more common. We could probably round up at least 5 people who have plug-in, who have hybrids or electric cars by now. But that's how these workshops work. You have someone talks about it as an overview, and then you go into breakout sessions and people talk with people who did it and with vendors.
Well, and I think if you give a talk like that and you have a slideshow to go with it, it really helps.
Yes. Yeah.
Photo essay, essentially, which is a great idea.
So you haven't done it yet, though, right?
No, I'm hoping this summer that I can get moving, but a lot of depends on what's in the supply chain.
Well, how much of your system are you replacing? Are you using mini splits or are you doing a whole air source heat pump?
Well, it'd be replacing the existing air conditioning and the oil heating system.
With mini splits or with a central unit?
That's to be determined because there's air handlers for the air conditioning. And the heating system is partly baseboard and partly, going through the air handlers. So it's really going to take a little analysis to decide what the best way to proceed is.
Well, I know Lily put in mini splits and I put in mini splits, right? Are you using them exclusively, Lily, or are you supplementing it?
It's not exclusively, no.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not exclusively using it either.
Well, Carol
But-
has many splits too.
What?
Carol has many splits as well.
Oh, you do?
Yes, supplemented with oil. I left the oil heat in.
Yeah, because a lot of people have an existing heating system and they're just switching the major source. In our case, we have another heating system, but we try not to use it. We use the mini splits to heat the house. But I'm slowly drawing down my thousands of dollars of credit with Eversource. At some point, I might actually have to pay an electric bill. Or buy more panels. I think I'll buy more panels.
I pay a heating bill for oil heat. Usually the electric bill I pay in February and maybe March.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
I get enough sun after that.
Oh, but you're not building up credit year round.
I build up credit so that I can pay for November, December, January. And
Oh,
then
but
I
by
usually,
February and March, you run
and
a,
then I have to pay February and March.
Yeah, I'm in a completely different situation because the house is basically shut down during the wintertime. Part of it's heated and part of it is, can be separated and is completely unheated.
Mhm.
So I'm basically building up credits just about the whole year, even in the summertime when the air conditioning's going on 3 weeks straight. I still get credit. So I've got about what $3,200 in credit sitting there.
hey, you're gonna pass me soon.
Dick, did you ever check out with CLC why if you use more electricity, your rates are higher? I mean, especially if they're,
So yes, I did check out. It's not true.
oh, I can prove
It's
it.
a flat rate. It's a
No,
flat
it's-
rate.
Well, it's not. I mean, I can show you two different bills. And one's higher than the other.
Okay. If you use more, there's a flat rate per kilowatt hour that changes every 6 months.
No, I
And
can
it's
show
the
you two
same
bills
rate for
from
6
two
months.
different properties. I can show you two bills from two different properties and the rates are higher in the
Yes,
property.
different properties can be in
or-
different rate classes. So
Well,
every property is assigned a rate class. But for 6 months at a time, that rate class and that per kilowatt hour never changes. And then they get a new rate for each rate class, and it stays constant for 6 months. And it's not dependent on how much you use, except for the minor $5 a month, which is a flat rate connection fee.
Yeah,
So
well,
there's a flat rate connection fee of $5, and then everything else is linear based on the rate, and it stays constant for 6 months at a time.
well, there's two different bills for two different buildings on the same property. And the one that uses more electricity has a higher rate than the
But
one.
that could be in a different rate class. It will
Well,
be,
okay, well,
okay, that is, if you're saying that
okay.
if in
Well,
any,
I
for a
mean,
given
that's-
building, for
I'll
a
talk
given
with you
month,
offline with that then,
okay,
about that, because we should clarify that. I mean, because if we're trying to make it an incentive for people to go all electric, and they do, and the rates are higher, that's not going to be an incentive,
well,
just,
for a given building, you don't change rate classes. So for a given building, for 6 months in a row, you will pay the same rate. Now, it's typically higher in the winter and lower in the summer, or vice versa, one of those, I forget.
well, I should
Don't quote me.
the information and just, and verify that, because,
Now, well, look at
figure out.
the Eversource or the Cape Light Compact websites, and they will quote you by
Different
rate
classes.
class.
Okay.
And there are
Well,
about 10
yeah,
different rate classes.
what rate class means too. What would that
Well,
mean?
your bill will tell you what rate class you're in.
Okay. All
All
right.
right. And I think they may have a different rate for part-time residents and full-time residents. And they may have a different rate for, I know they have different rate for commercial versus residential. There are about 10 different rate classes.
Okay,
How you get
All
into one,
all right.
one of them
Well,
is low income, by the way, which is a much lower rate.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Thank you for checking that out. I appreciate
Mhm.
that.
I'm looking at the Eversource rate classes, and they have in the residential categories, they have residential assistance, residential, excuse me, residential space heating assistance, residential space heating, and general optional seasonal.
Yeah.
And general optional seasonal is the only one that talks about a particular demand. This optional seasonal use rate is for non-residential customers with a load that does not exceed 100 kilowatt in each of the 12 consecutive billing months and who agree to pay a minimum of 50 kilowatts of demand each month. So that doesn't even apply because it's non-residential. So they're basically 4 residential categories. And as far as I can tell,
They quote a fixed amount of kilowatt per kilowatt hour.
yeah, none have any specification beyond the customer charge per month and the different charges per kilowatt hour.
Could you send me the link for that?
I can do that.
Thank you, appreciate that.
And the rates for Cape Light Compact are slightly different by less than a cent and slightly lower. But it's the same arrangement. We use the Eversource rate classes.
Okay, thank you. I guess Robert's not here, so we don't have an update on the Global Covenant of Mayors.
Right. And we've talked about grants and the comprehensive plan. The Green Futures Act was a leftover. I should have taken it off. Any other future items you'd like to talk about?
Oh, I do, I have one.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't even know how this fits in, but it is solar. So, maybe we could just brainstorm a little bit. So I've learned a little bit about these real-time offshore buoys that detect the sharks that are tagged, and they're powered by solar. So I figure we should talk about them in our committee because they are solar powered. And the problem last year was that there were 6 of them. And given that it's only a percentage of the sharks that are tagged, if they come within a certain distance, they ping. And while the lifeguards are there, the lifeguards can alert people and get them out of the water. It is some help, as far as safety is concerned. And 5 out of the 6 of them were pulled out of the water because the solar functionality stopped working, and they weren't replaced for the entire rest of the season. So I don't know if there's anything we could do from a grant standpoint for solar for new technology like that. Or, it does make sense that because they are a help, that all the beaches in town should get one of these things. 2 of the beaches had them. That's one thing. So if we could get more of them, that would be a help. The other thing is if there's anybody that has expertise on fixing them or knows anything about how we could streamline that. So if they do break down, they could be taken out repaired and put right back. I think that would be something that we might want to talk about too. So anyway,
Would
I-
Suzanne Thomas be in charge of those?
well, she's in charge of the beaches. Yeah, these are actually Department of Marine Fisheries, which is a Massachusetts department. Greg Scomo, the shark researcher, has been in charge of them. But yeah,
So
I-
the state supplied these devices?
to the DMF, and DMF put 2 of them in Wellfleet. Yeah.
I
I
think
thought
there's
you
a,
said 6.
Well, there's 6 of them on the outer beach. 2 of them went to Wellfleet.
I think
And
this
our-
particular research effort is proprietary. There have been buoys powered by solar, including the end of the breakwater for many years, and most of the offshore buoys are all charged with solar. So that's a technology that happens 24/7 at a much bigger level than us. I think these particular ones are shark research, numbers, alert kind of a thing. I don't really see our place there at all. It's not a technology that's new. It's something that when you are most anywhere, the light buoys are all charged by solar. So that it's not even new technology. This particular use is, I think they got to get up to speed. I don't really think it's our place to that. I think if we want to encourage it, I happen to know that one of our head lifeguards thinks it's a terrible idea to even have them out there off our particular beaches, because it gives people a false sense of security that it might tell you about a third of the animals that it picks up, but the rest that don't have the necklaces, it's
Oh, you mean the shark has to have a transponder?
Yeah, and we don't even know, we don't know what percentage. I mean, we've heard that Suzanne has been told there are only 15% of the sharks out there have the transponders. It's been mentioned 8%, 10%. I don't know, so nobody knows how many they think that there are out there either. But yeah, they do have to have the transponder in order for it to happen. Yeah, and I hear what you're saying, Chuck. And I don't know. That's why I'm bringing it to the committee, because I heard about it. I've thought about it, and I thought, well, we're the Energy and Climate Action Committee, so maybe there's a fit somewhere. I didn't realize that most buoys are powered by solar. That's
Yep. Most all of them, and for many, many years, since before people had them on their cars or on their roofs, it's one of the first places where they've used solar technology, because otherwise you have to go out and change the batteries. And the Coast Guard figured it out when the first panels started to come in.
that's really good to know. So you would think that if the technology has been out there, that
Right,
these
this
things-
is their particular technology for that particular research effort, and that's an ongoing thing. And I know Heather in the Cape Shark community, people are supporting it as much as they can from their nonprofit, non-municipal standpoint. And I think that's probably well in hand, and we'll see what we get from it. It's
But if they're relying on transponders, maybe they want to start relying on sonar instead.
no, that also has been researched, and 4 or 5 years ago, we had Ian come out from the West Coast. He's from Australia. So the technology is working its way up, and then it's trying to come up with the app and the computer capability of being able to tell dolphins from seals, from sharks, from masses of
Ah.
seaweed. So it's in process, but the technology hasn't come up to the place where it's sufficiently cost effective, really.
Mhm.
Yeah, Dick,
And
yeah, I'm curious what, Dick, stuff about this. I mean, is there a technology out there and who would be in charge of that technology? I mean, I've even thought, that, the county could go to, Joint Base Cape Cod, and they must have technology out there that, should be able to detect sharks. I mean, close to,
It's not a question of detecting sharks, it's, as Chuck points out, discriminating between sharks and seals on on the basis of something. What, their acoustic signature? I don't know.
We had actually pre-COVID, we had several big seminars. One was at the elementary school. And there, and we wondered if we could come up with enough money to have one set up here. And the fact is that the results out on the West Coast where they were set up weren't sufficiently effective. That and then the towns have a real liability concern. As soon as you set up equipment like that, then you are attempting to protect what, a 10%, and the fact is that many of the outer Cape towns have resisted only because the technology isn't quite there, and the sharks aren't out to eat us. It's something we're working at. They live there too.
yeah, well, I thought I'd bring that up to the committee to see, because I just thought I'd throw it out there, see what people thought.
Well, I don't have much of a feeling one way or the other myself.
Okay.
I don't know anything about it.
Then I'll withdraw it.
I think it's out of our wheelhouse, right?
Okay. Yeah, well,
Any other potential new business anyone wants to bring up, or old business? Good. Well, this business of Tuesdays does conflict with select board meetings because they're holding meetings now every week. So it's every Tuesday is a problem. Although I guess what they did 2 days ago was not the same. It was a week ago, right? That we were supposed to be on the agenda and weren't, or was it 2 days ago?
no, it was last week.
Yeah, but is this a temporary thing to, get things kind of sorted out with all of the financial problems and, try to work through those so that they can talk intelligently about budgets?
Well, I happen to be very friendly and I like Helen Miranda Wilson, but as long as she's on the board, the meetings will go on forever. She does tend to extend the meetings. I mean, she's a friend and I like her and she does a great job, but she extends those meetings. So I don't know how temporary it will be, GB.
Do we, I mean, I don't know if people want to have it on a Thursday night, the third Thursday of the month. Is that a bad time for people?
It doesn't matter.
I
Not
can
a
do.
bad time for me.
What?
It's not a bad time for me.
Okay,
Same
then
here.
let's just move it to Thursdays. Okay,
Okay.
All right, so it's going to go first Thursday of the month?
third. What are we on now?
Or the third, yeah.
Third
I
Thursday.
don't know. I'm open to whatever Thursday of the month.
Or third Thursday, or which
Yeah,
which Thursday?
We're on the third week now. We're doing meetings on the third week of the month.
All right, so we're going to go to third Thursday of the month.
Instead of third Tuesday, which we
Okay.
usually agreed to.
All right.
Is there a reason it can't be at 7?
No. Is 7 preferable?
Yes, I get very sleepy.
Right, well, we moved it to, yeah, okay,
So-
7,
7 PM, February 17th is the next meeting. Is that okay?
okay. Fine,
Okay. Can I make a
Sure.
motion to adjourn? No?
okay. Well,
I'll second.
a second, I'm in favor. Lily,
Yes.
Carol,
Carol, I.
Chuck,
GB, should
aye.
you be eligible? Yes. Chuck
If I'm eligible, yeah, aye.
Aye.
and Suzanne.
Aye.
Okay. See you all on the third Thursday of next month.
Okay,
Right.
thank you
Thank
very
you, Dick.
much.
Hey.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Lily.
Dick. Night, everybody.
Night, everyone. Thank you.